He also sounds like the kind of guy who gets mad when being called out for making threats over the internet.
I'm no communist, I'll tell you that right now. I believe a man should own his own house and car and cow. I like this private ownership, I want to be left alone. Let the government run its business and let me run my own.
Now this is absolute classic. This is, Jason Unruhe at his best. He talks about how a guy getting mad over the internet, never mind the fact that, he's making threats over the internet, but a guy getting mad over the internet. Here's Jason Unruhe showing what a flaming hypocrite he really is.
I would just like to say to the little stateless capitalist, because I know he's still watching, you're a fucking little pussy. You and the rest of you stateless capitalists are a bunch of low-life fucking Nazis.
So there he is, basically abusing the stateless capitalists. I love how he uses the words stateless capitalist. Things are not black and white like that. He might be perhaps talking about the anarcho-capitalists. I've got nothing against them, but of course, for me personally, I'm a minarchist. A minarcho-capitalist compared to an anarcho-capitalist. Well, we tend to believe that there is a role for the government, but the role of the government is not controlling your economic life. It's not controlling your economy. That's the difference between a minarcho-capitalist and an anarcho-capitalist. An anarcho-capitalist believes in complete abolishment of government altogether. That's their own personal opinion. I'm quite interested in what they have to say. However, the most important point of the issue is the fact that I do believe there is a role for government, but it's not within our economy. This, however, does not mean to say that I believe, in a state, because he uses the word state capitalism a lot. This idea of state capitalism, there's no such thing. Because capitalism is not about a state that controls your economy. That's socialism. That's what defines socialism. And this is what people like him don't understand. They don't understand even the fundamental basics of economics. He doesn't even know what capitalism is.
I'm like that close to wishing Al-Qaeda would wipe you out. For all your big talk about freedom, markets of freedom, never mind democracy or controlling your life, markets of freedom.
So he goes on about, markets are freedom, taking the piss out whoever has been targeting him or whoever it is. Well, that's the problem. Markets are freedom. It's about letting the market be. And it's this whole thing where he talks about democracy. Socialism is a contradiction to democracy. I don't know how many times I've pointed out from 1947 to, the 1970s, India declined as a very result of that. Democratic socialism, that oxymoron ideology. They declined into a dictatorship. And then you had the democratic socialism of Venezuela. From 1999, they were sitting 75th on the Freedom Index. Today, they're now sitting 175th on the Freedom Index. They dropped a whole 100 places, and that was the result of democratic socialism. Anyone who sits there and denies that is having a laugh. Even at one point during the time of when, Hugo Chavez was in power, all you socialists were bumming off about how wonderful and what a paradise it was. Paradise? They were facing blackouts.
A power blackout plunged the Venezuelan capital, Caracas, and other cities around the nation into darkness on Monday night. During the blackout, a speech that President Nicolas Maduro was in the middle of giving was interrupted, and the network lost the signal from Miraflores Palace.
They've got bloody food shortages. The economy's on the verge of an economic collapse.
Long queues are among the most common images of today's Venezuela. Although the country has the largest oil reserves in the world, its deteriorating economy has forced the government to slash imports. The severe hard currency crunch has already produced shortages of almost everything, from toilet paper to medical supplies. Other basic goods such as sugar, milk and maize flour are also scarce. And like supplies, the patience of Venezuelans is running thin.
They're about to hit hyperinflation and you call that a paradise. It's like the time you called Cuba a bloody paradise. I'm trying to educate these people because they're living and suffering in poverty. I even try to reach out to those people who are currently living in countries like Greece, because I don't want to see them suffer. I want to at least help these type of people. But people like you just want to keep them impoverished, keep them suffering because you think theories are more important than practice. Your little bedtime stories are more important than reality.
Jason will ignore historical facts and deny socialist crimes like the Holodomor.
Unfortunately, the reactionaries in the country are screaming. The people touting the lies against Stalin and that he killed more people than actually existed in the country, and just the usual BS that we have to put up with.
The Great Leap Forward famine.
In his lifetime, Mao Zedong was hugely respected for the way that his socialist policies improved the welfare of the Chinese people, slashing the level of poverty and hunger in China, and providing free healthcare and education. Most of the attempts to undermine Mao's reputation center around the Great Leap Forward that began in 1958. It is this period that this article is primarily concerned with.
And the Cultural Revolution.
The Cultural Revolution was one of the greatest moments in human history. It was the one and only time it has ever happened. China, a backwards nation with a very large population, had an 80% illiteracy rate, had suddenly gone forward and began discussing ideas about how to change the world, how to change their society, the new direction of everything from economics to relations between individuals. It was one of the most exciting and the most revolutionary moment in the history of mankind.
And that's what the problem is with people like you. It's so ridiculous. Despite how many times history's proven it over and over. And it was no different in Great Britain. From 1945 to 1979, the Labour Party laid on their prolonged testing of democratic socialism. It's very important to understand this history because the Labour Party were founded by the Fabian Socialists, the Fabian Society. The Fabian Society was founded in 1884 by George Bernard Shaw. This was the same George Bernard Shaw who quoted in his own words, this hardcore socialist in his own words, said, "Socialism is the same as communism, only better English."